Chapter 8, Charlie Munger. This is my favorite chapter. And the one after this is the final one. It's going to be even better. So, Charlie Munger is the grandmaster of stupidity reduction. And the title of this chapter is Don't Be a Fool. This is interesting, right? We have a lot to learn from Charlie Munger and his partner Warren Buffett. They have had a very long streak of beating the index over a very long period of time. So let's look at what their performance looks like. So Charlie Munger invests with Warren Buffett in Berkshire Hathaway, and look at over the last 22 years. The green line is the SPY or the index, and we have Berkshire Hathaway and the Daily Journal. So Berkshire Hathaway is the joint between Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and Daily Journal is where Charlie Munger makes the calls. So both of them have handsome, investment returns, much higher compared to the index. But look at this anomaly here, right? The index, if you had started investing with Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger in their two firms, for the next 10 years, from 97 to 2008, the index actually outperformed Charlie Munger. Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway outperformed the index, but look at the green line, it's actually higher. But if you go beyond 11 years, 12 years, consistently, they just outperform, right? And both of them have had huge performance upside compared to the index. But again, the story is different when it comes to the last 1 month. Charlie Munger Daily Journal has actually gone down by 7%, the index by 2% up, and Berkshire Hathaway 3%. Three-month period also, you can see huge volatility in the Daily Journal versus the index actually doing much better than even Berkshire Hathaway. So index actually beaten them. 6 months, again, index, Berkshire Hathaway has recovered, but over a year actually, you see this line here, right, where the index actually was doing better. Berkshire Hathaway recovered, Daily Journal actually losing big time, especially because of their because of their concentrated portfolio that Daily Journal has. So let's look at it. So Charlie Munger actually invests just in 4 stocks, like 99%. As of just last month or 2 months back, right? He just has like 4 or 5 holdings. The 5th one is like very small. So 4 holdings, 44% in Bank of America, 33% in Wells Fargo, almost 18% in Alibaba. This stock has gone down crazy after he bought. It's 226 is what he bought. It's actually down more than 20% after this, much more than 20% after he just bought. So that's why you see that volatility. He actually just goes all in on banks. Look at that, and then Alibaba. Charlie Munger with the Daily Journal Corp has very concentrated portfolio versus Warren Buffett, 44 stocks, but his biggest one, Apple, 41% of the portfolio. Out of 293 billion he has 121, 41% in Apple. So he diversifies much more in Berkshire Hathaway, but not as much as Markel. That's why Berkshire Hathaway beats the index much more than what Markel beats the index, right? So you see his convictions are really concentrated when it is strong. 14% Bank of America. We saw how Markel Corporation, the biggest investment, like 6% in Berkshire Hathaway and others, right? So we have a lot to learn. So we know what they have performed in the past, and the really amazing speech that Charlie Munger has given. It's called The Psychology of Human Misjudgment. It's available on YouTube. There's like 25 biases that we can learn. We have a lot to learn from Charlie Munger, but look at this one specifically, and you can learn about bias of reinforcement, bias from consistency, bias from over-influence. There's so much psychology that we can learn practically from just this one speech, which is around 2 hours or so, 1 hour actually, from Charlie Munger. Google this put this on YouTube, Psychology of Human Misjudgment. And that helps Charlie Munger actually beat the market because he understands human psychology. So what do we got to learn from these two legends, right? A lot. But the biggest one is not being stupid. Not being stupid is more important than being intelligent. So stupid mistakes is something that we need to pay huge attention to. So he says, I focus on stupidity reduction. That's more important. So consistently to reduce the capacity to make foolish thinking and idiotic behavior and unoriginal errors that people have already made. You shouldn't be making them, because then they're idiotic. You're making stupid decisions. You're foolish. And those standard stupidities is what he tries to eliminate. This is huge. It's very simple, very powerful, and very useful. And Charlie Munger, because of his extreme reading, and he's read for like multiple decades, like maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 years. He's like 95 plus something, 90, 95. I don't know the exact age, but he's really old. But he's compounded his learning over a long period of time. And you can see through his deep understanding of psychology, deep understanding of what he understands, and his convictions are strong. We saw he just has like 3 or 4 large conviction bets. And so time will tell if this will pay out or not. The other key piece that we learned from is the principle of inversion. If you're trying to solve a hard problem, invert the why behind what you're trying to solve and avoid those things. When you do that, it's easier to solve a hard problem. So for example, let's say you're trying to predict the weather. Then you ask yourself, why are you trying to predict the weather? Predicting the weather is hard, right? So you ask, why am I trying to predict the weather? So you say, hey, I'm trying to predict the weather so that I can save pilots from crash. Maybe you're trying to solve for avoiding crash. So that's your why. Now invert. How do you invert? You say, hey, how can I kill maximum number of pilots? Then you can very quickly, this is very easy to answer. You can say, hey, if the pilots land in low light area, if there's lots of water and on the landing strip, if they take off when there's lots of wind, etc., etc. You can come up with those answers, how you can actually get them to crash. And when you do that, and then you invert, say, hey, I'm not going to make my pilots fly when there's water or there's icy situation, there's lots of wind, etc. That's easy to solve. So inverting a problem that you're trying to solve, inverting why you're trying to solve something, that will help you to quickly solve difficult things. And that's the principle of inversion. We learned that from Charlie Munger. So use it, and that is very helpful. And you can use this for like many different things. Like if you want to lose 50 pounds, you can say, why are you trying to lose 50 pounds? Because let's say you want to live for a long period of time. Then you say, how do I die in the next 1 year? So then you say, I'm going to eat junk food every day. I'm going to clog my arteries. I'm never going to walk for more than a mile. and you start to do, you can get that list very quickly, how you kill yourself or how you not live longer. And then you invert, saying, hey, I'm never going to eat junk food. I'm going to start walking more. And so you're going to lose those 50 pounds and you're going to live longer, right? So it's easy to solve with the principle of inversion. And the other piece, like if you transparently review your mistakes, then you're less likely to repeat them. So if you make a mistake as a leader, go in front of the stage, tell everyone you made a mistake. So now you have everyone to keep you accountable if you keep making those mistakes. So that's another psychology. There's 25 in that YouTube video that I started and I shared with you. Look at them. Very highly recommend going through that video, and I'm actually going to create my own version of those 25 biases and how I'm going to use them. I'll create a video in the future as well. So you don't have to take extreme positions, but we just saw he's taken like 3-4 extreme positions, like 40% in Bank of America, another 20-30% in like Alibaba. So he's taken like strong, but he knows what he's doing, right? So it's important to stay in your competence. You don't have to take long extreme positions. That's stupidity. If you don't understand, if you're doing that, it's stupidity, right? So the other key piece to learn from him is the DLL. The 3 things that can ruin people: drugs, liquor, and leverage. So the drugs and liquor is easy to understand, but leverage, that's huge. people, when they buy homes, they're actually leveraging 1:5. If they do a 20% down payment, they're leveraging another 40%, another 80% from a bank. So if the house market goes down by 10%, they're going to be leveraged 5 times. And so their equity is going to be erased much faster. So leverage is huge. So don't buy stocks by borrowing money, because then you are leveraged out. Stocks with options and others. Only if you understand it, do it. If not, avoid. And we saw that he's also influenced in a pretty big way by Adam Smith, and where he wrote, he has a book, The Wealth of Nations. And the interesting thing there is the power of incentives. And if you want to persuade people, appeal to their interests and not to their reason, is what Charlie Munger shares, by persuading people by appealing to their interest. And incentives has a huge role to play. And that's something that Charlie Munger shares as well. Devil's advocate, seeking out disconforming evidence, is another huge practical skill. So if you're trying to make a decision, you would want to get other people to find flaws. Even after you find those flaws and you find those disconforming evidence, even then, if it makes a good investment, then you should make that investment. If not, you should just avoid it, right? And then HALT PS. So decision making, you shouldn't make decisions when you're hungry, HALTPS. If you're hungry, you shouldn't make decisions. If you're angry, you shouldn't make decisions. If you're lonely, you shouldn't make decisions, HALT. If you're tired, you shouldn't make decisions. If you are in pain and stress, don't make decisions. Delay that decision making. So he's shared with us how and when to make decisions, and those poor decisions are typically done when you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, in pain and stress. So DLL, drugs, leverage, liquor, right? And then HALT PS, pause, hunger, anger, lonely, tiredness, pain, don't make decisions. And finally, Charlie Munger plays the game that he understands. Look at his positions. Like close to 70% of his position is in banks. 2 banks, Bank of America and Wells Fargo. He understands that really well. That's why he's playing that game. And he's playing it because he's deeply interested in that game. Don't play the game that you're not interested in. Play the game which has 2 factors. One, that you understand, and in which odds are highly in your favor because you have a competitive advantage. And second, that you deeply understand and you're interested in it. See, we might play a game, we might be good at it, but we just going through it. We don't like it. We still play it. So don't do that, right? So that, a lot to learn from Charlie Munger. And finally, be good, have your values, and drive decisions based on your values. Honesty and generosity and being kind. We learn a lot from their behavior. So a lot to learn from Charlie Munger, but finally, don't be a fool. That's the key thing. And learn about the psychology of human misjudgment, different biases on how and when not to make decisions. A lot to learn from Charlie Munger. This video is just a high-level summary. I would highly encourage you to check out the YouTube video with 25 biases, and also the speech that he gave at USC. That's another one which is really good. Thanks.